Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Jane Stevenson, and I'm pleased to present Empower Amsterdam's weekly chat today. Our mission is to support unemployed internationals in their job search in the Netherlands and actually in Europe if we get people from other parts of Europe. So this year our top goal was to build community, and then as we went into lockdown and went into the dramatic situation we're all in with COVID at the moment, building community became even more necessary. So in the weekly online community chat, we take a different topic each week, and you can get tips from experts and the chance to talk about the topic amongst yourselves in breakout rooms after the presentation. So today's topic is presented by Virginia Colurcio, who's Vice President of HR Europe for Prologis. She's Italian and has been living in the Netherlands for some time. She's had many years of experience in HR in global companies and is also an executive leadership coach. And that all sounds amazing, and I'm very impressed by her CV. But when I was talking with her earlier this week, she said her proudest achievement was bringing up 4 kids. And as a mother, I really get that. It's amazing to nurture new world citizens. That's what I feel. There's a slight change of format today because Virginia can't only stay for our presentation. And she'll leave us, and then we'll carry on the discussion and organize the breakout rooms based on her presentation afterwards. Virginia is fine for everybody to connect with her on LinkedIn and on email. And Kata's going to put her LinkedIn and email address into the chat later. But wait until more people, if there's more people going to join, we can do that at the end of the presentation, Kata. Okay? And now it's over to you, Virginia, if you would like to start the presentation.
So, yes, thanks, Jane. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see. I hope you can see it. You all see the screen, right?
No, it's
blank.
It's blank. I think you need to find the slides first.
Yeah, it's on my screen. Why it worked before, it's not working now.
When you do, if you get share screen up and then you get different things that are open, your application.
Let me see. It should be now.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So there was a bit of a back and forth. So yeah, thank you for introducing me, Jane. I'm very excited to be part of this session. I'm really happy that we can go through one of the subjects that I really enjoy talking about, which is sustainable employability. I had this passion starting back when I was working at Unilever, and actually since then it never, I kind of carry this sustainable employability with me every time because I really truly believe in the importance of it. So when Empower Amsterdam approached me for just thinking about the subject to discuss with you guys, I thought that it would be good just to give a perspective from like a company view on something like this being important and being on our agenda as corporate leader, and for you to be aware of it, because I know that you are all in that stage of probably looking around and figuring out what are going to be your next steps. So I hope that some of the information I'm sharing with you will be of any value. So again, it's from a corporate perspective, but it's also, as Jane said, I have my corporate role at Prologis as VP of HR, but I also work in parallel. I have my own practice as an executive coach. So I also see this applying to a lot of my clients that are either transitioning from one company to another, or sometimes even, struggling to find what are the real important matter on the agenda that they need to carry forward just to create the right culture. Anyway, so let me just project the slides. So as you can see, the agenda is pretty short, simply because our time is not that long. And as Jane said, if you will have any question or you just want to catch up, just find me on the LinkedIn. I believe my LinkedIn profile is going to be shared, or otherwise throughout my personal email. I find always interesting to have debates with the people that have the same passions. So just starting very quickly about myself, I think I'm not really a big fan of going back to my LinkedIn profile because you can read everything on there. But there is one value that I like always to share that it's very, very important for me. And it's a kind of a red thread that is present in my professional, but also in my private life, which is coming out of comfort zone. That's super important for me. And coming out of my comfort zone in my private life, as you can see, these are my 4 children. How do we come out of our comfort zone is just by traveling the world as backpackers. This is by choice. It's just because we really want to bump into new situation that sometimes are nice, sometimes are less nice. We learn from that, we talk about that, and hopefully we grow every time. So it's again coming out of the comfort zone continuously, because we know where we go to, but very often we don't know how we move from one place to another, and that's how you gain a new experience and how you grow. And for those of you who have been backpacking in your past, you probably recognize that and you say, well, that's nothing new. But I just want to point out that doing that with the 4 children, and now they are a little bit older, but I started doing that when they were like very small and toddlers, that gets you really out of your comfort zone. The other thing, you know, the other application of that principle is in my professional life, and I really believe into that. And as you can see, I have been working for different industries that have nothing in common with each other. So it has been like a conscious choice to always step out of the industry to learn something new. Because the risk is that every time you try to stay in the same industry because you know the industry so well, you will miss out on growth. And my experience is just that doing something completely different will just increase the learning curve so fast. So even when I was at the last company working for Netflix last year, and I was just thinking, you know, to look around and starting being open for new opportunities, I got seduced by a couple of parties. And to be totally transparent with you, I was even talking to TikTok at a certain point, and I'm like, well, that's going to be exactly the same. So just stay loyal to what you have been preaching all your life. And that's when I chose Prologis, which is in industrial real estate, totally something different. But again, I'm now a beginner. I need to start learning that dynamic from scratch to be able to then support my partners in the business. And that's the beauty of it. And again, I mean, that's what motivates me and what kind of I thrive on. So having said that, let's get to the matter of our presentation, which is the sustainable employability. And what is this sustainable employability? It's basically something that at the moment is very much on our agenda in the corporate world, is creating the right condition for employee to have this long, healthy and happy career. As you can see, there are different elements to it. So it's like making sure that the employees stay employable, so that they stay long employable. At the same time, there is that element of being healthy. And with healthy, we don't only mean healthy like physical healthy, but also mentally healthy. And this is especially now relevant during COVID, as I was discussing with Jane and Kata and Konstantina before we entered this call. There is this big emphasis on duty of care that companies are having for the employees. So there is a lot happening on that mental health part. There are also a lot of new companies starting up in that segment. There is a lot of research. There is a lot of new stuff, interesting stuff happening there. So yeah, this is one of the definition. Obviously, you can find many more definition also on internet. For the sake of making my life easier, I just took this one, which is kind of reflecting where companies are focusing at the moment. So just going forward, and I don't know why my computer is now kind of not wanting to go forward. Yeah. So the interesting part around the sustainable employability are these data and facts, and some of these you might have seen before, but I really like those because they are very confrontational. So the first one is an interesting research that was done by University of Oxford. I think it was in 2015, if I'm correct, where it's clear that 40–70% of all the jobs will disappear in 25 years. It's kind of shocking if you think about that. It's like almost half of the jobs like we know now, they will disappear. I want to kind of mitigate it a little bit because it sounds almost scary. But the reality is that 32% of those jobs will actually evolve in something different. So fundamentally, there is still an element of those jobs, but it's just evolving and changing. And just to I was just like trying to tease your attention. If you look at the picture on the slide, it would be interesting to know if any of you would know what that person is doing. I was researching myself, figuring out what this guy is doing, but apparently at the beginning of last century, so in beginning of 1900, there was this job which was like a window knocker, of somebody that was going window by window by window every single morning to make people, to wake up people. So basically it was having the job of our alarm clock, but because they were not alarm clock, then this guy was doing that. So obviously the job does not exist anymore. And that was just, to make you think that even closer examples like the stenograpist or the stenograpist, which is something that I remember my mom was doing, even like a course at that time, and she was very proud that she could do these stenography things. There is no use for it anymore, obviously, but there are new things coming up. I'm not sure how much you have been reading also regarding this, the development of Corona on the job market. There are some new jobs coming up, which are directly related to the COVID, but at the same time, there are also new jobs that are necessary because of COVID and because of the transformation we have seen within the organizations. So, for instance, the other day I was talking to my HR team, and I'm like, guys, I was saying, guys, this is going to be a pretty stable situation having so many remote workers. And one of the things that we notice is that how are you going to make sure that the newcomers, new hires, are going to understand the culture, adapt easily on board? So we were kind of thinking we almost need the sort of remote, remote working from remote officer, something like that, somebody that helps people to settle in and be comfortable working from remote. This was something that was existing before? Not really. We never really felt, I mean, people could work from home, of course, but there was not really this need of having somebody making people feeling comfortable working from remote. So as you can see, there is a lot of that evolution coming out also of the COVID, but it's in general because of automation that all these jobs will change and will evolve in something else. So as you can see, there is also some information from the 2016 World Economic Fund report, and it's about some trends that we keep seeing and popping up, like the rising middle class in emerging markets, the climate change, the women's economic power. Those are all like puzzle pieces that are moving the socio-economical situation and creating a different world, and also impacting, of course, the employment. Even like the migration that we have seen, like the migration that we have seen recently in Europe as well. The other interesting data is the old age dependency data. rate. And I don't know whether you know what that means, but basically it's when we look at 100 employees, how many 65 plus age employees do we have in that group of 100 employees? So as you can see, the projection for 2030, which is not even that far away because it's only 10 years from now, it's 42%,7. What does that tell us? Is that in 2030, almost half of the working population is going to be 65 and above. So that's also something that we'll need to keep in consideration as a corporate environment, as companies. So we can't just keep focusing on the millennials, because there is those generations are also going to be there. So, and we have a bit quickly touched base on COVID, but yeah, well, you know how the situation have been kind of impacting the employment world. There is a lot of jobs at risk at the moment. There are some cuts in hours, in pay, and so on. And as you can see, only in US in April, 20 million people had lost their jobs. And at the moment, we are still, we don't know. We are just still in the middle of it. So. I was talking to a headhunter, like one of the executive headhunter a few days ago, because we were just looking at the trends in the market, and he was telling me that now in September we started to see which companies are probably getting out of business. So we are still right in the middle of it. It's not kind of completed. One thing which is very important, I'm a lawyer, so that I'm always very interested in the laws and things and changes that are in the law. One trend that we are seeing is that laws are becoming more flexible in a way that there will be more fluidity in the employment world. And we have seen some reforms in the UK, in the Netherlands, and in France, with the Macron just changing some of the very heavy like laws in France, and in Spain and in Poland exactly the same. What does that mean is that there is more flexibility for employers, but also employees, to move from one job to another. So we don't find anymore those inflexible laws in the employment world. And then we get to the millennials, which is always like an interesting percentage of our working population. So I was looking at this research that was published by Manpower in 2008, and there was this number saying 75% of millennials believe that they will work during their career for between 2 and 5 employers. And that's a very different story than previous generation, when we were always sticking to one job for life. But now, looking at a new research that was published by Deloitte, I think it was like a couple of years ago, it seems that 75% now drops to 54%. So it seems like that belief that somebody will work for minimum of 2 employers and or more, it's kind of decreasing, but it's kind of a blurred, because that's 54%. However, the remaining 25% expects now to work for more than 6 employees. So there is again that fluidity, that flexibility, that not sticking with one employer for so long. So that's all food for thoughts. I put down here an old Chinese proverb that says, "May you live in interesting times." It sounds like a blessing, but it's pretty much a curse, because it says this is so confusing times that it's going to be really tough for the people living into it. But let's try to stay kind of positive, and let's not go in the negativity, because that's not what we want to have during this session. So some myths about sustainable employability. I hear a lot, this is stuff I hear every single day, is that people think it's just concerns employees who are 50 plus, which is not the case, as we are seeing. Or some companies are really training a lot to their employees, because they think, well, as long as I give them training, then they are employable. I can tell you, the minute I see that the minute I see on CVs that people are just trainers junk, I just don't even select them, because for me that's not the main characteristic. I would go back. The main characteristic is how how often these people are able to come out of their comfort zone. But again, let's move further. Many, they think that it's an HR project. It's like, okay, HR should make these people employable. Again, not the case, because it's a joint combination of the leader, of the person. In some cases, also the unions. So for those of you who are in touch with the unions should also play a role in that sustainable employability. And then it's something, well, it's full responsibility of the employee. Make yourself employable. Just make sure that you will be happy, healthy, and you know, that's not the case. It's a joint effort. So what is this entering the human age? So I think the shift that we have seen in the corporate world is that whereas before it was pretty much the employer that was just deciding how the career of the employee was determined and how that was organized, and in some cases it was just one job for your entire life. Now it's the other way around. There is like a flip over. So there is much more employee centricity. Solutions are much more tailor-made on the employee's needs. We tend to consider them less and less just numbers. I'm from the school of don't create. I don't like policies in general. I don't like procedures, and I don't like rules as HR. I tend not to do the traditional HR in general. So the way we are seeing this is just like we see the customer centricity, the way we try you know, to adapt the life cycle of a product to the request of the customer. We need to do the same also with the employees. So there is much more that awareness. So, and how does that looks like? As I said, we are moving away from a job for life. I don't know how many of you have parents that have been working for the same company all their life. My dad is one of those, because he has been working 45 years for the same company, which is the national electrical company in Italy. And he still struggles seeing me just changing every couple of years, and he's like, well, that's not okay. But that was the old idea that once I start in a company, then I will kind of finish in that company. And today it's much more this employee's journey, as we have been saying. The companies are less and less a job provider and more career enabler. And they know that obviously if you start at a company, there shouldn't be the expectation that you are going to stick to the same company for so long. So that's also the way, sometimes I have some of my coaching clients that are looking to make like shift from one company, wanting to go to another company, and always to say, rather than looking at your of course the paycheck should be there, but also focus very much on how this company is going to enable your career. And at the same time, what type of a culture there is in this company. So do your research rather than just getting stuck on yourself, like, okay, this is the job I want. Look at the culture of the company and whether that company is also very agile and flexible to offer you chances that maybe at the moment you are not quite seeing, but that are there. And that you might grab and you might want to use and leverage from. The other thing which we are seeing at the moment is that there is also like a lot of a shift from rather than focusing a lot on development plans for people, like what is the stuff that you don't know how to do, let's take time, let's just help you to develop in that. There is a bit of a shift in more positivism and focusing much more on the strengths of the people. So looking where are you strong, also like in a team dynamic, if you have like a team and you have like a specific task, let's see which person is for which person it does not cost energy to do that specific task, rather than putting that task with the person that might be taking forever or it's draining for that person to do that specific task. So get to know also your own strengths, know exactly what are the things that are not costing you energy and that that you can easily implement and that can help you shine in some way. And then there is this health culture, as we were just discussing, which is pretty much mental health, but also well-being. So I think it's wrong the way I just named it, because it's kind of tricky. You will immediately think about health in terms of a physical health, but it's a lot of this this mental health and about the the well-being of people. And then one thing that I see company appreciating more and more and more is people that are able to fit into a feedback culture. So, you know, we are moving more and more away from what it was like the old employee engagement survey that you were just doing and taking forever in creating focus groups and creating action plans. Nobody looks at it. 2 years later, you are exactly in the same cycle. And again, you know, it's a waste of time. So companies are going more and more into the direct and immediate feedback. And people that are able to do that, they are very welcome, simply because it's not very easy. So that's something that maybe it's important to keep in mind. And I just wanted to share with you something that works very well with me. And again, I mean, it's something that you might use, yes or no, but it's this radical candor. So how do you give a feedback? Feedback, as there is an assumption that you care for the person in order to feedback, and then there is like that you have the guts to give feedback. So those two elements in orange, like a care personally and challenge directly, they need to be there in order to be efficient feedback, or otherwise what you will get is this defensiveness. Because yeah, you will have maybe the guts to tell somebody, but the person just feel that you don't really care for him or her. So you will get somebody that thinks, yeah, whatever, you gave me feedback, but I'm not going to action anything on it. Or you will have any other of the quadrants, and I will leave it to you, you know, to look at the different situations. But this is coming from the Radical Candor, which is a book that you might want to check. I really like it a lot because it's very simple and very relevant at moments. So something about the COVID-19, and then I think I will probably have to stop here because I have been talking for too long. So what we have seen from a corporate standpoint during the COVID is that work has been made portable across organizations. So we have seen some organizations that, for instance, were in apparel, like a New Balance or Brooks Brothers, that were producing like clothes. Because of COVID, that they needed to be very agile, and they started producing, for instance, the nose masks. The same went also for like a Ford and Tesla. They started producing elements of the respiratory engine for the hospitals. So the other thing is, like, some industries started sharing employees and making again some agile, bold decisions. So for instance, like hotels, which were kind of low in attendance and so on, and they started lending their employees into supermarkets. So it was again something completely different, and it requires a lot of agility from an employee perspective. We also started seeing, by the way, a trend at many companies that they started creating contracts for new employees with that kind of clause of agility. They really expected that people might shift from one job to the other. And there is a lot of creativity during this COVID, because as we have seen, yeah, people like to just reinvent themselves, even though in some cases we tend to believe that the creativity has been impacted because of Zoom and, you know, not recreating those collaboration and communication moments. So there has been quite a debate about that. I'm a big believer that COVID has been increasing creativity, but there are other people thinking differently. And all of us, we have been learning new skills, even if it's just like learning how to use a Zoom. I mean, how many of you did not know how to use a Zoom before COVID? I was one of those that did not know how to share my screen. I still don't, but let's just skip that. So that has been a really like interesting journey. So I will skip this because this is more like for company. And I think those were the two questions that were my proposal for you to just use. And again, feel free to add anything else. during your breakout. So Jane, I don't know if you want me to stop sharing, because you have those questions, right?
Yeah, if you stop sharing that would be lovely.
I will.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you very much, Virginia, for the presentation. I'm sure one person just dropped off and said, I'm sorry, I have to jump off now. It's been very insightful, though. Thank you so much. So I just want to say, echo